All right, so I just first want to say how thankful I am of this program, because this program has really allowed me to kind of take a step back and think about education from a different point of view. So 5%, I'll get to 5% later on. But when I think about this program, what it's been able to do for my development as a teacher, it really, the experience has been great. So when I started to think about what I wanted to talk about, I found myself thinking about, physical education a lot at home, in between class sessions. During my prep hours at school, I was thinking about it a lot. I put a lot of thought into this because I wanted to present something that I was really passionate about. And so for the past 3 weeks, I've put a lot of thought into this, and I want to share one story of when I actually, it happened where I figured out what I wanted to talk about, that specific scenario. So I'm driving in my car. And I'm driving out to Stillwater, where I was going to meet. I've coached out at Stillwater for the past few years, and I'm driving out anyway. So I come across a field where there's a bunch of kids playing soccer. It was a your regular youth soccer scenario, and for some reason I got this excitement, this feeling, this passion of youth sports, and I began to think about why. Why was I so excited about just seeing a youth soccer game? And I think it comes down to, my passion for sports. I have a strong passion for sports, and it comes down to, it really goes back to my family. If you take a look at this picture right here, from as long as I can remember, and I know I'm not supposed to look at the screen, but I mean, look at that mullet and that sweater. That wool sweater. Sports has been a part of my life as long as I can remember, and I have a lot of passion in team sport. It goes back to everything I hold dear, and that's why I'm in this position as a PE teacher. So I'm in this mode of thinking about physical education, and I start to think about, what about those kids who don't have that same passion I have? What about those kids who when they look at team sports, they look at physical education as an intimidating thing, and it kind of brought me back for a second. To not have that same passion that I have is something that really kind of shook me for a second. So I'm driving in my car and I'm thinking about those kids, and I'm thinking back to even further of my experience in the physical education setting, and there wasn't a time when it wasn't team sport based. I think all the stuff I did was kind of team sport related, and that's kind of an intimidating thing to think about. So when I think of the new PE, I think of providing students with choice. If choice is involved in education and what students can participate in, it's not structured in team sports situations where they're competing with people like me who poured all their passion into physical education. That was my favorite activity and my favorite class of the day. When they're not competing against students like that, and they're able to focus on different activities, I think that's what I think of choice in physical education, where students get to choose, what they can do in physical education. And I began to think about why was my physical education setting so reliant on team sports, and what did that do for my development? While it was awesome for me, team sports was it was ideal for me, but for others, again, it could be an intimidating situation. I began to think about what people are doing beyond the K-12 setting. And if we look at the stats for those individuals who are physically active at the moderate to vigorous levels, team sports isn't even on the radar. It's under 5%. So my challenge to physical education teachers today is to try to pull away from organized, structured team sports and to think about the whole student. Think about the things that people are doing today as we move beyond the K-12 setting, what we want to teach kids to participate in. in physical education. And that's it.